Hello, everyone. You're now tuned in to the Millionaire Millennial. My name is Stack Banks. Um, First and foremost, before we even really get into it, just let you guys know this episode's going to be very quick, probably about a little 10-minute segment. And we're going to talk about some things. And then later on this week, we're going to deep dive more into some subjects that I'm going to talk about on today's episode. So, number one, today is Sunday, May 19th, 2024. Those of you who are watching the crypto markets right now are probably watching Bitcoin go up. And this is all post-halving event with Bitcoin. And we're going to touch on that in later episodes as time goes on. But a lot of people, I think, are seeing, want me to talk about golden crosses and things like that, and what they all think that is doing, and where the Bitcoin price is going to go, whether it's going to go up or down, sideways, left, right. And long story short, there's a number of factors that go into it, but what you guys have to understand is investor sentiment. First and foremost, you have to understand, if you don't already, what Bitcoin is, its utility, its purpose, and also understand its capability as a financially speculative mechanism. For some people, I guess it's the best way to put it. Essentially, people are putting money into it, investments, whatever you want to call it. And before we even get into that, everything that we talk about here, this is not investment advice. Do your own research, please. Talk to financial professionals before you guys do anything with your money. But this is supposed to be hopefully a starting point for you guys to start educating yourselves. So when we talk about Bitcoin and we talk about what the price is going to do, there's two main factors that you're looking at, in my personal opinion. Number one, what Bitcoin itself can do, which in my personal opinion is potentially unlimited as a blockchain, right? As far as what people will pay for the value of the original blockchain token. I think, $1 million is not out of the question. Time frame is what everyone is worried about or trying to figure out. And that, I believe, beyond being based on a number of factors, like, how much is in supply, right? Or circulating supply, how much, is held by institutions, and how long are certain investors going to actually hold the physical Bitcoins themselves, whether it's going to be 6 months or a year or a week, whatever, an hour or two. It's up to you, really. But, or, the institutions and the retail investors, I think there's a relationship and a dynamic there. But what you guys have to understand is what's called investor sentiment. And investor sentiment is understanding how the market at large, retail investors, the guy on the street who's throwing 1,000 or 100,000, even $1 million, whatever it is, into whatever it may be, a certain stock, a certain crypto, whatever. How does he feel, he or she? How do people at large feel about that? And how do they feel about long-term keeping that money in that vehicle, right? So you have to understand that market sentiment is volatile, right? And there's a lot that goes into it. Someone might feel comfortable one week putting $100,000 into Bitcoin, right? But then their primary business starts doing bad, right? Or they start doing renovation on a house and they feel the money squeeze. There's a million things that can go into investor sentiment, personal feeling. And they go, you know what? I don't like this anymore. And they pull their money out. And that can be at any scale, from $1 or less up to, millions. And then you have institutional investors, right? And I think when you look at their strategies, a lot of times it's to make money, as much money as quickly as possible, for as long as possible, with the least amount of effort. But institutional investors, and we're talking like BlackRock, Valkyrie, Fidelity, large corporate banks, things like that, they have a longer term view on money than we do. And while, yes, a lot of them do have overhead, it's not an entity that you need to feed food or water to. It doesn't need to sleep. You know what I'm saying? Like you and I have needs. And I'm not saying the people that run these corporations don't have physical needs, but the corporation itself doesn't stop doing what it does. And it doesn't have a personal overhead beyond the overhead of the business, right? Which could be minimal, especially in comparison to how much money these businesses are bringing in. You guys can look at the record number of profits taken in by these large corporations on Wall Street, just in particular, from 2020 on now. So understanding that these corporations are going to probably potentially outlast you as an individual, and their investment strategies into these vehicles are going to be different than yours, and their pain points are going to be different than yours. And that is something as an investor you have to figure out, where do you stand. It does have to sort of be your intestinal moral fortitude or whatever personal financial decision about whatever you're getting into. How confident are you about Bitcoin or Ethereum or Solana or, GameStop or AMC or whatever they're going to call, they call those like meme stocks or whatever. They're just stocks or cryptos or whatever you believe, or how well researched you are about a particular subject is probably going to do a lot to influence your confidence level and how well you think that thing is going to perform. So that's one thing. But I thought that I would do an episode and give you guys a little bit of insight. There's a book. It's called Animal Spirits, How Human Psychology Drives the Economy and Why It Matters for Global Capitalism. It's by George A. Ankerloff and Robert J. Schiller. I'm pretty sure I have plugged this book before. I don't get paid for it. I don't know the authors. I don't know the publishing company, nothing like that. It's just immensely invaluable. You guys should look into this book. And the reason why I say that, when you open up the table of contents, and we'll get into this as well, because there's plenty of things in here that I think would actually be good for you guys to digest and understand on the podcast. But this book is broken down into two parts. And so the first part of the book, he goes over different things, right? And he sort of sets up the narrative of these animal spirits, right? Essentially, these psychological drivers that we as humans have that actually influence our money-making decisions and the markets. And then part two of the book, he goes deeper into, so I'll just read them off for you guys. Like it says, 6, why do economies fall into depression? Oh, excuse me. Why do central bankers have power over the economy? The current financial crisis, what's to be done? Why are there people who can't find a job? Why is there a trade-off between inflation and unemployment in the long run? Why is saving for the future so arbitrary? Why are financial prices and corporate investments so volatile? Why do real estate markets go through cycles? And why is there special poverty among minorities? Oh, excuse me. So some of you may wonder those things, especially some of my black and brown viewership, or white. It doesn't matter to me what color you are, but some of you who worry about, breaking the curse of generational poverty, the reasons behind it are inside that book and a bunch of other books and things we'll talk about. But I want you guys to understand what this podcast is about and what its usefulness to you guys is. This is not something that I'm selling some course. I don't care. I don't make money off this. I'm sure at some point I will, and I don't mind it. But I do this to educate you guys. because I was someone that wasn't financially educated. And now that I am, and I come to understand this stuff, most of it is not overly complex. It's just understanding what money is, right? How do you go out into the market and make it? How do you get your money to work for you? How to save? What does that mean? Understanding what assets are, understanding what liabilities are. There's a bunch of different things. And the financial, whatever is your complete picture, everyone's is different, right? Not everyone's. A lot of these guys will tell you if you're not a millionaire, you're not successful or whatever. If you're not a billionaire, all these crazy things. You have got to have financial stability for you that makes sense, and then you have to figure out what is it that you're wanting to do. Are you wanting to? Well, that's another subject we'll get into as far as retirement, things like that, investments, but um that's the subject and nature of today's podcast. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Please follow us. At Stack Banks is my Instagram, or excuse me, at stackbanks.official is my Instagram, and I believe at Stack Banks is the YouTube channel, the Millionaire Millennial podcast on Instagram and on YouTube as well. You can find us, Spotify, Pandora, wherever you guys pick up your podcast. But we appreciate your listenership, and we want you guys to be able to use what you find in this podcast and utilize it to be better and be great. And that's my hope for all of you. So with that being said, I will end today's episode, and we will pick up later on this week, and we will specifically dive into the crypto markets. And then after that, we will look specifically at animal spirits and how that affects the economy. Until then, you guys have a good one.